At this time, I'm going to call the meeting to order.
There are a few more seats up front if you like.
Eric, do you have anything? I called the meeting. to order.
Oh, great. No, nothing to report, Mr. Chair.
Report from Land Use Council.
Do we have, is Jody online? Please.
Good morning, Planning Commission. Can you hear me?
Yes. Jody, do you have anything?
I have nothing and I apologize. Good afternoon.
Did everybody get a chance to read the minutes from our last meeting?
Yes. Yeah.
Any changes? Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Make a motion to approve minutes as written.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any unscheduled items from the public?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Oh, okay. Any unscheduled items from the
Sorry.
planning commission? Okay, we're gonna have a public hearing. Hoover County Commission will consider the appeal filed by Thrive Hood River of the county planning director's decision to tentatively approve an application submitted by Grant Goldman, AMS 205-2025 BST Dallesport, for the industrial land use permit to construct a 48,960 square foot warehouse and distribution center. I will open the hearing at this time. Because this hearing is being recorded, anyone who wishes to speak should come to the front table, state your name, address, speak clearly into the microphone. Those who are virtually attending tonight's hearing that wish to speak will use the raise the hand function in Zoom. All persons at this hearing have the right to be heard, provided that no person has the right to be disorderly, abusive, disruptive to the orderly transaction of this hearing. No person has the right to present irrelevant, immaterial, or incompetent testimony. No person except for the appellant and the applicant or any of their representatives may speak in excess of 3 minutes unless permission has been requested and received by the chair. The appellant and the applicant or the representatives will be given a collectively up to 10 minutes to present unless otherwise requested and allowed by the chair. It is necessary to determine the qualifications of the commission to act as decision makers in this matter. Does anyone have any reason to abstain or need to disclose any personal bias, ex parte communication, or conflict of interest? Nothing? Okay. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to challenge the qualifications in any member of the commission? Pursuant to ORS 197763 and ORS 197796, the following points are required to be read into the record. The applicable criteria that apply to this decision are listed in both the staff report and notice letter and may further be explained and clarified during the hearing. Testimony and evidence must be directed towards the identified criteria or other criteria in the county's comprehensive plan or land use regulation, which the person believes to apply to this decision. Failure to raise an issue with sufficient specificity to afford the planning commission and the parties an opportunity to respond to the issue precludes appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals based on the issue. Any party to this hearing has the right to request a continuance of the hearing. In response, the planning commission will either continue the hearing to a date certain or leave the record open for at least 7 days in accordance with ORS 197763 subset 6. Pursuant to the provision of section 60 5.06 of the county planning ordinance, failure of a property owner to receive notification shall not invalidate the proceedings because a good faith effort was made to notify persons entitled to notice based on records in the Department of Records and Assessments which were utilized. The order of the hearing is as follows. First, we'll hear a staff report, then we will hear from the applicant, then those in support of the application, then the appellant, those opposed to the application, then interested public agencies, then the applicant's rebuttal for up to 5 minutes, and finally, questions from the decision makers. At that point, the hearing will be closed. No further testimony or argument is allowed. The planning commission will then deliberate and either make a decision or continue the hearing to a date certain. Finalize the decision at that time. Are there any questions, concerns of the procedures or the rules that I've covered? If not, we'll hear from staff. Keith?
Commissioner Kitts, do you mind shutting off the lights on your? You. Never. Perfect.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. A couple notes before we begin. For ease of reference, the attachments A through G in your packets are numbered in the upper right-hand corner. After the written staff report was issued, we received additional comments which were provided to you prior to the hearing. As part of the comments, Josh Owens is requesting that the Planning Commission hold the record open for a minimum of 7 days following tonight's hearing to allow for additional written testimony and rebuttal. This can be discussed later in the hearing. However, the Planning Commission can grant this request as the chair mentioned, either by continuing the hearing and leaving the record open, or by closing the hearing but leaving the record open for written testimony in a 7-7-7 format, which is first 7 days for new written testimony, second 7 days to rebut any of that, and the final 7 days reserved for the applicant. That would put us out to the next Planning Commission meeting on May 13th. So this is a map of the area. It's zoned industrial M1. And as noted, we're here tonight to consider an appeal filed by Thrive Hood River of the County Planning Department's decision to tentatively approve an application for industrial land use permit to construct a 48,960 square foot warehouse and distribution facility. So in order to provide a level of context for tonight's hearing, and before we review the applicable standards, this is a wide angle view of the Lower Mill Industrial Park. For scale, this is the 2024 aerial view shows the Cardinal Glass building, which was originally approved in 2003, followed by subsequent additions, which brings it to its current size of about 12.5 acres in size, or 550,000 square feet, with about 340 employees. Obviously, a success story and a benefit to Hood River County. As a side note, in 2021, they were approved for a 145,000 square foot addition shown here, which is about 3 times the size of the entire proposed warehouse distribution facility. The proposed 48,960 square foot building is shown here and is expected to deploy about 110 people. To avoid repeating all the information in the staff report, I'll now review background information and then focus on the primary reasons for the appeal. So on August 29th, NV5 Engineering submitted a scoping memo outlining the scope of work for the traffic impact study. In September, ODOT engineers and the County Public Works Department approved the scope of work for the traffic impact study. An application was submitted for the industrial land use permit in September. October 21, notice of the industrial land use permit was mailed out. November 12th, 2025, John Mills, Thrive Hood River provides comments in opposition to the application, primarily citing deficiencies with the applicant's traffic impact study and potential traffic safety issues related to the proposed development. On November 12th, ODOT provided comments in response to the notice that said ODOT received a copy of the submitted traffic impact study and after review has determined no issues of concern. In January 2026, after receiving comments about perceived negative traffic impacts and safety issues, staff formally contacted ODOT and County Public Works a second time to confirm that neither agency had concerns. In January 2026, staff met with ODOT engineering to discuss the traffic impact study and ensure there are no issues with this project. Minor recommended changes were made to the traffic impact study and it was resubmitted. January 29, 2026, ODOT commented, "Thanks for sending the updated traffic impact study reflecting the mobility targets and volume to capacity ratio. As indicated in the original letter, ODOT has no issue with the land use application moving forward. Please let me know if you need an updated letter reflecting again that ODOT has no concern." And they did follow up with a formal letter that same day and it's stated ODOT has no issue with the land use application moving forward. February 23rd, 2026, the industrial land use permit was approved. March 10th, 2026, an appeal was received by the planning department from Chris Roebuck, Thrive Hood River, citing that the application did not contain enough information to establish that the use authorized in this M1 zone would be limited to rural uses, and the decision does not make the required Goal 14 findings in that regard as a result. March 12th, 2026, notice of the appeal hearing is sent out. And then on March 17th, planning staff, including Eric Walker, the planning director, met with Thrive Hood River to discuss the Oregon administrative rules, industrial uses, and the applicability of Goal 14 standards. March 31st, 2026, Chris Roebuck, Thrive Hood River, stated in an email, "Thank you for the OER reference you provided. We agree that Goal 14 criteria will not apply, and we will not raise Goal 14 issues on appeal. There are many residents who are very concerned about traffic and about public safety. We would like to continue with the appeal in order to provide the public an opportunity to express those concerns and hopefully have them addressed." The appellant formally noted only one assignment of error on the submitted appeal form, stating that the application did not contain enough information to establish that the uses authorized in this M1 zone would be limited to rural uses and had to deal with Goal 14. As previously stated, planning staff met with Thrive and along with other information provided the applicable Oregon administrative rules noted in the staff report, which clearly exempt industrial uses from Goal 14 standards. As previously noted, this assignment of error was subsequently withdrawn, and that was the only assignment of error listed. In a response letter addressing the above issue, Carrie Richter, the applicant's attorney, confirmed staff's determination, stating that, quote, "State law could not be more clear in its authorization of new industrial uses at any level on abandoned mill sites without regard to Goal 14. The proposed warehouse distribution use is permitted outright and must be evaluated solely based on the criteria and the standards set forth in Hood River County zoning ordinance 3160, the M1 siting and design standards." While not listed in the appeal, John Mills, Thrive Hood River, previously submitted comments in opposition to the original application notice, primarily concerning the traffic impact study, or TIS, and the potential traffic safety issues related to the proposed development. Staff notes that uses listed in the industrial M1 zone include those that are permitted outright in section 3110, and those that require additional scrutiny in section 3120. Those are conditional uses that require further review. The proposed warehouse distribution facility is a use that is permitted outright in the M1 zone, similar in that respect to a single-family dwelling in a residential zone. Other than the standard concerning traffic impacts, the applicable standards are clear and objective with no discretion required to determine compliance. As detailed in the staff report for industrial land use permit 25-0194, the proposed warehouse distribution facility meets all of these standards. Section 3160A states the pertinent standard concerning traffic safety for development in the industrial M1 zone. Site access will not cause dangerous intersections or traffic congestion. It will have adequate visibility for motorists and pedestrians and will be kept at the minimum needed for safe ingress and egress. Roadway capacity, speed limits, and number of turning movements shall be considered. As previously mentioned, ODOT and County Public Works were consulted on multiple occasions about the proposed warehouse distribution facility. Both agencies accepted the traffic impact study, which concluded that the addition of project traffic is expected to have a nominal impact on traffic operations at the study intersections. Based on the analysis prepared for proposed development, improvements at the study intersections are not required to mitigate the impact of the proposed development. Part of the TIS, the traffic impact study, included traffic counts at 4 nearby study intersections: Oregon Route 35 and Needle Creek Mill Road, Oregon Route 35 and Sunday Drive, Needle Creek Mill Road and Sunday Drive, and Oregon Route 35 and Davis Drive. Intersection turning movement counts at these 4 study intersections were collected on Wednesday, September 10th, 2025. The morning peak hour varied by intersection, ranging from 7 a.m. to 8:50 a.m. The afternoon and evening peak hour at each intersection was from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Vehicles associated with the proposed facility include employee vehicles, delivery vans, and line haul semi-trucks. Approximately 134 delivery vans are anticipated to leave the facility between 9 and 11 and return between 6:30 and 8:30 p.m. at night. Approximately 32 line haul semi-trucks are expected to enter and leave the facility during the night and early morning hours between 9:30 p.m. and 6 a.m. Staff notes that all of the anticipated delivery vehicle travel times are outside of the previously mentioned peak hours. As previously stated, ODOT determined and then reasserted that there were no issues of concern. Further, the applicant is proposing to close 2 existing driveways which provide direct access onto Highway 35 from Tax Lot 902. ODOT acknowledged these proposed actions, stating ODOT appreciates closure of both private accesses to our facility, Highway 35. Contrary to the County Public Works Department and ODOT, John Mills from Thrive Hood River criticized the traffic impact study, stating that the TIS submitted by NB5 in support of these land use applications by the Port of Hood River is egregiously inadequate and defective. Primarily, Mr. Mills argues that there are several items omitted in the TIS, including crash history analysis, site distance, queuing analysis, bicyclists, and seasonal impacts. Staff confirmed that the TIS included, quote, roadway capacity, speed limits, and number of turning movements, which are criteria noted in Article 31, Section 3160A. However, staff is not qualified to provide findings on whether or not specific data that Mr. Mills mentioned should have been included in the traffic impact study, or that contradict or question conclusions made by NV5 engineers that were accepted by the County Public Works Department and confirmed by ODOT. As with all agency-specific issues, when reviewing roads for dangerous intersections or traffic congestion, planning staff relies on the County Public Works Department and ODOT, agencies responsible for safe and efficient vehicle travel along roadways. The items listed by Mr. Mills as missing from the TIS are not required by any standard applicable to the proposed development, nor were they requested by any agency responsible for traffic, safety, and movement. Nevertheless, in response to the argument made by Mr. Mills that the TIS is egregiously inadequate and defective, the applicant submitted an additional traffic memorandum dated April 7th, 2026, written by John Karnowski, PE, and Amanda Herrera, PE. This memorandum provides a point-by-point rebuttal of the evidence given by Mr. Mills to support his argument. The engineer's comprehensive response to Mr. Mills' argument is in attachment A, pages 812 to 827. And there's an NB5 engineer at tonight's hearing who is available for your questions. It's important to emphasize again that the planning department relies on the agencies responsible for safe and efficient travel along state highways and county roads to evaluate proposed uses for compliance with their traffic standards. As previously stated, Thrive wanted their appeal to remain open in order to provide the public an opportunity to express traffic and safety concerns and hopefully have them addressed. The following items represent the measures taken by the applicant, the reviewing agencies, and the planning department related to these concerns. Traffic engineers submitted a scope of work ahead of time that said what they were going to study for the traffic impact study. ODOT and the Public Works Department reviewed and approved that scope of work. An 80-page traffic impact study was submitted to ODOT and the Public Works Department for their review. And after minor changes, both agencies accepted and approved it. Notice of the application was sent out to all agencies, including ODOT and Public Works, and no issues were expressed from any agency. After comments of traffic concerns were received from Thrive and other individuals, planning staff contacted ODOT and the Public Works again to confirm their approval. Planning staff met with ODOT engineering staff to further discuss the TIS. ODOT recommended a final minor change in how the data is displayed in the TIS. ODOT reiterated its approval of the TIS and the proposed facility with no concerns and sent an additional approval letter. The applicant provided an additional traffic memorandum addressing concerns outside of the applicable standards and what was required by the regulating agencies, including crash analysis, bicycle activity, and queue analysis. Some other measures: 2 direct access points onto Highway 35 will be closed. Delivery vehicle travel times were routed outside of peak travel times at the noted intersections. And a traffic engineer from MV5 is available tonight to answer questions. One of the major concerns raised was that the intersections in question are very dangerous and will only be made more so by traffic associated with that proposed warehouse, with the proposed warehouse distribution center. I want to pull just a few items from this 5-year crash history analysis from 2020 to 2024. At Oregon 35 and Davis Drive, there was 12 crashes over 5 years. So that's about 2 to 3 crashes per year. However, the proposed site trips will increase traffic on Oregon 35 by about 1.5%. Oregon 35 and Sunday Drive and Oregon 35 and Neil Creek Road each had recorded 1 crash over the 5-year period. Along Neil Creek Mill Road, 2 crashes were reported over the 5-year period. No fatal crashes or crashes involving pedestrians or bicyclists were reported in the last 5 years. The majority of crashes, the 12, occurred at the Oregon 35 and Davis Drive, primarily involving turning movements. However, the proposed development does not contribute to eastbound turning traffic at this intersection. Crash types do not indicate congestion-related problems. And Oregon 35 Neil Creek Road intersection, crash data from the past 5 years shows 0 crashes related to turning movements. This indicates that neither turning traffic nor sight distance appears to be a safety concern at this location. Based on the initial acceptance and subsequent reaffirming of the traffic impact study by both ODOT and the County Public Works Department, and on the determination by ODOT that there are no issues of concern associated with the proposed warehouse distribution facility, staff found and finds that the Article 31, Section 3160A standard that the proposed development will not cause dangerous intersections of traffic congestion is met. Staff agrees with the conclusion provided by Carrie Richter, the applicant's attorney, concerning outright allowed uses, which this is. Where a use meets all of the objective siting design standards such as setbacks, lot coverage, access, and utility siting requirements, the use must be approved. The county has no discretion to deny an application that otherwise satisfies these limited siting related requirements. Based on the information provided as part of the summary and the written staff report, staff recommends that the planning director's decision to tentatively approve industrial land use permit 25-0194 be upheld, and that the appeal number 26-0035 be denied. Thank you.
Thanks, Keith. This time we'll hear from the applicant. Gosh, you want to know what? Thanks.
Oh, cheers.
Come on up. John, come on up. Thank you.
How many minutes do you need? Like,
Well, we're gonna hope to do it in 10.
Perfect.
But with your courtesies, maybe we'll take 5 extra, but we're gonna hope to do it in 10.
Okay.
Mr. Cleveland did such a good job. Did our job for us. So I'm gonna try to keep
okay,
it to 10.
all right, thank you.
Thank you. Chair Von Lupkin and planning commissioners, my name is Carrie Richter. I'm an attorney at the law firm Bateman Seidel. My office address is 1000 Southwest Broadway, Portland, Suite 1920, Portland, Oregon 97205. You have my letter, so I'm not gonna restate everything there. Before turning this do you wanna move the slides? Yeah.
Yep.
Before turning this presentation over to the development experts, I want to make a few legal points that I think ought to be at the planning commission's top of mind when reviewing this application. First, as Mr. Cleveland pointed out, this is an industrial zone. This property is surrounded by Cardinal Glass, a forest product processor, a tool storage manufacturer. These are all industrial uses that have impacts, right? We've made those choices when we zoned this land for industrial uses. This development will have fewer impacts because it doesn't store materials outside. It's got a smaller footprint. 45,000 square feet is much smaller. It will have fewer employees than Cardinal Glass. It will have fewer external impacts, no dust, than other industrial uses that could be developed there. The property, because the county has decided that this is a permitted use, that means that the county assumes the traffic that will be generated from uses there as part of its transportation system plan, right? County adopts the transportation system plan as a 20-year horizon of how much growth the county anticipates, and it evaluates its road capacity and its safety of its roads over that planning horizon. And where there are shortcomings, the county identifies those intersections for improvements. None of the intersections at issue here are identified for improvements, which would indicate that the county believes that these roads are safe to accommodate development that is permitted in the zone. I want to talk finally in my portion here a little bit about Hood River County Zoning Ordinance 31.60, right? This is the site design standard that has been raised by the opponents. Mr. Cleveland quoted it. I want to talk about what the language says. When a court looks at how to interpret a standard, they look at the plain language of the text. What do the words say? Site access will not cause dangerous intersections or traffic congestion. That's a site access. That doesn't say proposed development. That doesn't say the proposed use. It says site access. And when we talk about this in terms of site design, we're talking about the driveways, where the driveways are located. You can't put a driveway right next to an intersection because it will create conflicts with the intersection. So the driveways have to be far enough away to have site distance, to not endanger motorists or pedestrians, to provide for safe ingress and egress. That's what the standard says. It says they will have safe ingress and egress. That is talking about site access, not the larger question about how the roads function. And it will take into account roadway capacity, speed limits, number of turning movements. I would advocate that this standard does not relate to the safety of the larger transportation system and how it accommodates the proposed use. I would purport that that determination was decided when industrial uses were allowed in this zone, and that this is just about driveways and not about the bigger issues. With that, I would like to turn it over to Dan Kamichek, who is the project manager with Ambrose, who's going to talk a little bit more about the site design and how it was intentionally developed to ensure safe and adequate site access.
Thanks, Carrie. So as you can see here, as I have on the screen, we have,
Excuse me.
sorry, Dan Kamichek with Ambrose Property Group. As you can see on the screen here, we have our colored site plan, so hopefully everybody can see that. We have multiple access points that feed into the site. So there are 3 points of access into the site. And as Keith had mentioned, there's 2 closures along Oregon 35. Predominantly at the north end is for semi-truck access. There is 5 semi-truck parking stalls to be loaded into the dock areas. So that would be the limit of that entrance to the north. The second entrance, as you move down to the south along Neal Creek Mill Road, shown in yellow, is for associate vehicles. So that is, and then the associate lot is located on the east side of the building. So everything you see in yellow will be used by the associates. So that drive is a function of associate cars. And then what you see to the lower portion of the screen in the light blue color is that is for delivery van parking stalls. Those will mainly be accessed by coming in off of Sunday Drive, where there is an entrance located there. And as we had described before, we looked at site distances and other calculations to make sure that everything was in alignment and works and functions properly. Effectively, what will happen is the delivery vans will be parked in that south lot. They will go and migrate up to the building to be filled with product for deliveries at the south end of the building, and then we'll exit onto Neal Creek Mill Road. And then as it relates to traffic, I'm going to hand it over to John Karnowski with NV5, and he'll go in a little bit deeper on the traffic topics.
Hi, yeah, I'm John Karnowski with NV5. I'm the National Traffic Director for the company. You may not know NV5, but we're about a 12,000 person company, publicly traded. And I have been doing traffic studies for over 35 years. I'm older than I look. So with that, at least I hope I am. Some of you all say, no, you're about right. So on the traffic study, we took into account the intended user of this facility, and we used counts for them rather than just for a warehouse. And the reason why we did that is because they generally have a higher volume than what a national average would be for this 48,000 square foot facility. So our analysis is a little bit more conservative than it otherwise would be. But this particular user, they shift their schedules in such a way that most of their traffic is occurring outside of your standard rush hours traffic time. So the time in which you're used to seeing a lot of traffic, say between 7 and 9 o'clock, that's not their peak. Their peaks are after that. Based on the delivery systems that they have, based on where they believe their employees are going to be coming from, they are most likely about 70% traffic to and from the north, 30% to and from the south. And so that's and all of the delivery trucks, the trucks that bring the products already sorted, they will be coming from the north. Which makes sense because they're coming from 84. We have a whole presentation for this.
I apologize. I just lost internet, so I apologize.
Zoom dies.
Sorry about that. I'm trying to refire here. Give me 1 second.
On the issue of safety, we did take a good hard look at that, and in fact, I checked several different sources in several different ways to make sure that we were not missing any data, because honestly, it was really kind of hard to believe that there would be zero traffic accidents reported at Neal Creek Mill Road and 35 over the last 5 years. But according to ODOT and the records that they keep, that is the case. At Sunday Drive and 35, there was one crash. These are the primary access points for the site. They would also impact and have an impact to the extent of about 30% of their traffic to the south across Davis. Davis is the one that had I think it was 12 crashes over a course of 5 years. But unless there are local deliveries to Odell in that area, customers, that there wouldn't be any traffic that's going to and from, unless an employee happened to be living there and they're commuting to it. So, and that's always possible, but that's not what our analysis is based on. We tried to look at the most conservative approach at it and put the most amount of traffic. So I believe I'm running out of time, so I'm gonna go really quick. We didn't find any cues of significance, and in summary, as sites go, there are very little, if any, impacts associated with the site. I can clear up any questions regarding traffic volumes, and that's my time, I guess.
Do you have any questions?
Yes, are there any questions? Thank you. for any of us.
Do that later, right?
Huh?
Can we do that later?
We'll do that later. I mean, as of right now.
Okay.
Is there anyone in support of the application? to Speak.
Public comment?
Thank you, everyone. My name is Christy Chapman. I'm at 4290 Alpenglow. I am a port commissioner, but I'm speaking in my individual capacity, not on behalf of the full commission. Thank you all for your time and volunteer. The subject property is zoned and designated for industrial employment uses. Our land use system depends on long-range planning to determine where development should occur. You guys do a good job with that. When a proposal is consistent with those adopted plans and zonings, that should guide all of your decisions. Predictability in land use decisions is also essential for public confidence and for the implementation of adopted plans. Applying the code as written and as adopted is critical to maintaining that entire system. And I understand this is a quasi judicial decision, and so the focus should really be on whether the application meets applicable county criteria. Issues like traffic, environmental impacts, and compatibility are very important, but I feel like those have been addressed through technical review by the county itself and by ODOT. And everyone seems to have signed off on everything. I encourage the county planning commission to ground its decision in the county's adopted plans and zoning and apply the approval criteria consistently. And thank you for your time.
Thanks, Christine. Anybody else in support of the application? Okay, at this time, we'll hear from the appellant. Is the appellant here?
That's me.
I guess that's you, John.
All right. Among others.
John, do you need more than 10 minutes or are you gonna be,
Sorry.
are you gonna need more than 10 minutes or are you,
I don't think so.
okay.
Well, thank you. I'm John Mills at 4588 Woodworth Drive, Mount Hood, Parkdale, speaking on behalf of Dry Hood River and myself. Thank you for being here and listening tonight. Amazon has told you that you'll hear hours of testimony opposed, but because it's a permitted outright use, you must approve it anyway. That's not planning, and it's truly not your role tonight. A bot could do that. Section 3160 of the county zoning ordinance is linked directly to from the county's comprehensive plan, Goal 9 economic development. The county's Goal 9 policy element sets approval criteria for all new industrial developments, including permitted and outright uses, to ensure they do not negatively impact public safety or traffic flow. The Goal 9 policy state that any new industrial application must not cause dangerous intersections or traffic congestion and must meet safety considerations, including the speed limits and turning movements from the industrial use. Planning commissions have successfully expanded traffic study requirements to support this kind of traffic impact guidelines, and they've done it for projects with high percentage of truck traffic, for example, more than 5% of the site traffic, and projects at intersections already experiencing congestion or safety concerns. And local planning commissions have very broad latitude to interpret these requirements. You are not at all bound by ODOT or the county road department. And I believe the planning department was premature to straitjacket the scope of this TIS. Those limitations are your call if you want to make them, not theirs. Odell is the last community, as you know, to get an area planned, but they're halfway through now. They don't need much more time to finish this opportunity to plan for the future. In the news this week, the city just paused massive data center projects. Councilor Stepina said, it's really important to hit the pause button. It's really important here too, with this pivotal decision for that area. In Oregon, you can pause a decision for up to 120 days or longer. And with your recommendation, the commissioners can justify moratorium based on inadequate roads, even while this application is pending under ORS 197-520. Odell always seems to draw the short straw, and they deserve better. The port's desire to use proceeds from their land sale to build a roundabout at 2nd Street and Riverside Drive may very well result in fatal collisions in Odell. They couldn't be faulted for thinking that work on the imminent Odell plan will be sacrificed when somebody else has other plans. To counter Thrive's testimony, the NV5 engineer has gone back and forth or with a memo rebutting what I had said earlier. I went through the LUC 156 myself and came up with 538 daily trips, which is still less than NV5's estimate of 548 trips. And I think the difference has something to do with trying to scale down an algorithm that's for sites that are at least 225,000 square feet. So when you shove it down to a size like this, it doesn't work. But none of that matters if traffic peaks at certain times of the year aren't used to measure the road capacity. Neither ITE nor ODOT account for traffic surges that overwhelm capacity during specific yearly sales events from Amazon. ODOT considers these surges temporary anomalies, regardless of their duration or their extent. Historically, traffic at Amazon last mile delivery stations surge in volume during peak October through January, major sales event, and then the holidays basically, and major sales events like Prime Day, which is in July. These aren't hypothetical. These happen to communities all over the country. There's a package volume surge. During Prime Day and holiday season, package volume at delivery stations can double overnight, jumping from standard levels, for example, 20,000 packages to peak levels of 40,000 packages. There's a trip generation increase. Historically, Amazon sees approximately 3 times its usual traffic during Prime Day events. Apply this to Odell's TIS, the traffic impact statement, or a steady baseline of 548, and now you have a volume that exceeds 1,600 daily trips for 3 winter months. Then there's the driver work overload. Individual drivers often see their stop counts increase by 5 to 30% during these periods. Doubling the package volume without increasing the number, in order to meet the demand, Amazon scales up and increases the number of van routes rather than just adding more packages to each driver. On Prime Day, which is now a 48-hour event in July, is promoted soon to be extended to 4 days. The holiday peak from October 15 through January 14, the most intense part being during Cyber 5, the days between Thanksgiving and Cyber Monday, amount to the chart that you see before you. Delivery vans rise from 134 trips to about 400 trips. Semi-truck line haul from 30 trips to 96 trips. Personal cars from 382 trips to 1,146 trips approximately. And that adds up to a rise from 548 trips to 1,642 trips. More about these drivers. While they drive Amazon branded vans, they are not Amazon employees. Neither are the flex drivers who use their own cars to deliver packages. Amazon can insist that 70%, the 384 daily trips, will not use Davis Drive to access 35. And they will say that it's because automated routes are assigned to each driver. A significant 30%, though, 164 daily trips will still be relying on Davis. Now go to the surge months with 400 vans, not 134. I think all bets are off. According to other communities, drivers find the fastest way to get onto their route when packages go up by a third and the number of vans that leave the facility triples. I urge you to ask for all of the facts that you need to make an informed decision that serves the community. And that might include looking at the kinds of things you will hear more from, I'm sure tonight, from other people, the blind spots, the terrible traffic in November, December, and January. With snow and ice, you have a facility that's putting traffic onto Highway 35 at the same time that the state is plowing it in 5 or 4 in the morning. I would hope that because of this one project, this location doesn't become like Highway 26 on the other side. That picked up the nickname of Blood Alley because it's so dangerous. I think we have the potential to be another Blood Alley or an Amazon on this side. And I encourage you to find out what you need to make your decision. Thank you.
Thanks, John. So I'm just gonna go down the list of people that we have to testify, if that's all right with you. Trudy?
I do have visuals with my testimony.
3 minutes.
3 minutes, I do understand, yes.
So where do we start? I don't know the order of what you want to do, so.
I'm gonna read my introduction, and then if you can just put them up, I have comments for each one. Okay. Hello, my name is Trudy Klinger. I live at 3400 Y East Road in Odell. Thank you for the opportunity to provide testimony tonight. Every day, I am fully aware that the biggest risk we take to our lives every day is when we get in our vehicles to drive to our destinations. I am sure most everyone in this room tonight has lost a loved one as a result of a vehicle crash. I myself lost my little brother at the age of 16. This reality is why I had to testify tonight to demonstrate that adding over 550 more vehicles to Hood River County roads a day will result in serious injuries and fatalities from vehicle crashes. The traffic study that has been presented to the planning department for approval of the application is incomplete and in some instances inaccurate. Most of the image I'll be presenting tonight are addressing section 3160. This is, the way that it's been presented, of course, is, I'm probably gonna go over 3 minutes. And Jim, who signed up behind me, already offered to forfeit his time to me if it goes over 3 minutes. Davis and 35. Anyone that lives in the area knows there's accidents all the time. And to present it as being a safe intersection is not being honest. That one would be perfect. That one that you have highlighted right now. Here we go. So a lot of people will ask too, why were the lights put up at 35 in Davis? The reason why is as ODOT designated, the All Roads Transportation Safety Program identified intersections where high concentration of crashes occur and then implemented improvements that help it reduce these crashes. That is why they put the lights at Odell Highway and Oregon 35, because they designated that as a high crash intersection.
That's it?
No, there's videos and.
Well, I mean, that's.
Yes, I'm sorry. So this I did get off of ODOT's crash data. And this, if it could be bigger, can it be bigger?
Oh, well, yes.
I'll have to go up here, I'm sorry. So this is Highway 35. Right here. And this is all of Highway 35 and 282 only in Hood River County. So in the crash data information I got was over a 10-year period. And on 35 and 282 in Hood River County from 2015 to 2024, there were 529 crashes, 2 resulting in fatalities, and 254 serious to moderate injuries. And again, this is off of ODOT site. I'm done with this one. Thank you. And this is just the Odell area, the area that the proposed warehouse is to go to, with Neil Creek, Sunday Drive, Odell and Odell Highway and 35. This map covers the area which Amazon vehicles will be entering Highway 35. Data from ODOT shows that 51 crashes occurred in this area alone from 2015 to 2024. Data also shows crashes on Neil Creek Road near site. And then I have the videos. This is Davis and 35. Talking about stop distance. Your streets. Hazard because you cannot see vehicles. Any vehicles. And then when you're trying to get out, and this is why accidents have happened, if a semi is here and you hook to the line. Can't see the cars that are on the other side of that semi. creating crashes at that intersection. Saying that that's not an unsafe intersection is not representing it correctly. This is very dangerous, and the only reason there haven't been more accidents at Sunday Drive from an industrial site onto 35. This illustrates the cyclist hazard from the blind corner south of Sunday Drive. It's only 500 feet, not providing adequate braking distance. Adding to this the 5% downgrade, it would take a fully loaded tractor trailer up to 700 feet to stop under ideal conditions. So there's not enough time for tractor trailers coming down, heading north to stop for the Amazon trucks pulling out of Sunday Drive. And there's one more.
I have 2 videos. I do have another image.
Well, the other video was of Neil Creek, and again, there's blind corners heading north that create sight distance hazard. So all 3, what they call driveways onto 35 create hazards. Thank you. And thank you for forfeiting your time, Jim. Thank you.
We're gonna try not, no applause, please. Mary Ellen,
Good evening. My name is Mary Ellen Barolotti. I live at 2580 Reed Road, Hood River. And I'm interested in this issue about applying for an industrial land use permit. Because when you look at the data, you look at the documents, you don't see that there. What you're looking at is they applied for Hood River Code 31.10C. And that code relates to wholesale distributors and outlets, wholesale outlets. And as council had pointed out, when you look at a code or a statute, the plain language of the text is what you're dealing with. And the language is under the code they're applying for does not include them. I wrote a few notes down, so I might refer to them. What the applicant did, they want an Amazon distribution center in an M1 zone, a rural unincorporated area. It asserts that Hood River County Zoning Ordinance 31.10C gives it an absolute right to build its facility without addressing the serious concerns that are being expressed to you or participating in any mitigation measures. They say they're only obligated to do site-specific improvements. The county, they also say, has no discretion whatsoever. The county could find that but my position is they do have discretion, and the discretion they have is to find that they filed a permit request under a statute or a code that doesn't apply to them. And the reason it doesn't apply to them is they're not wholesale distributors. Wholesale distributors in Webster's dictionary is defined as a middleman, a middle person who sells chiefly to retailers, other merchants, or industrial, institutional, or commercial users, mainly for resale. You're all looking for a definition of wholesale in the state code, and they do have it in OAR and the regulations. It relates generally to grocery distributors, but they give a general idea of what a wholesaler is. And that's OAR 150-317-1140C. It defines a wholesale as the sale of goods to a purchaser for the purpose of resale without further processing in the regular course of the purchaser's trade. Applicant's chief project is retail delivery network. That's what they're really asking you for, retail. They bring a package to somebody's home. So it's a retailer. Other sections of the code deal with retailers, with commercial codes, and they can refer to that perhaps. The Emerald is one zone in Odell, has been
Mary Ellen.
around since 1980.
Okay.
What's
Amy,
that?
is that you?
Can I just? Oh, but in conclusion, but that 3 minutes went fast. They mentioned Cardinal Glass Company, referenced by the applicant and by the county. But that's clearly a wholesale business, and that's perhaps rightly placed in that zone. So my request to you is to find that the applicant's project is not a wholesale delivery distribution project. And to find that you, the commission, does not have the authority to approve a permit under that particular code because they're retail, not wholesale. And wholesale is very specific, so you can't look below you anywhere around for a different interpretation. And then that applicant's permit be denied. Thank you.
Thanks, Mary Ellen. Buck Parker.
Thank you for your time and attention. My name is Buck Parker or Botter Parker. I live at 3057 Lindgren Road, where Lindgren and Erk Hill intersect. And I use the Erk Hill intersection to 35 several times a week and know it well. That is an iffy. It is just, as you know, down the road from the access points for the proposed Amazon facility. I believe that any site study is inadequate that does not address the state of that intersection as it is now and as it's likely to be. It's already an iffy intersection because coming in, especially from the Fir Mountain side, you have very little, you have about a view of about 10 to 12 seconds of oncoming traffic to your right, to the north, because of a curve. You've got the Fox cider business and a fruit stand on the corner. You're gauging the driver across from you and whether they're trying to make a left turn, a right turn, or come across. So there are a lot of false starts going out into there while that happens. And then you're at the north end of the first passing lane after about a 5-mile stretch from up by the old Hannell Mill site. So you have, on top of everything else, the possibility that from behind a truck that looks like it's a good ways away, somebody will dart out at a high speed traveling north in the southbound lane. So it's an iffy place, and it's going to be made worse by the congestion of more traffic and more trucks and delivery vehicles coming in from the Amazon site. And I also think there is a congestion problem, and you can't ignore the fact that Packer Orchards is going to want to apply to significantly increase the size and scope of its Thompson Road, the old Rasmussen farm site, which could easily be bringing 1,000 more cars a day in and out of that intersection, adding to the congestion in the area. And the Erk Hill intersection, Erk Hill was not looked at all in thinking about the problems of congestion or the increased likelihood of accidents caused by the traffic movements and the in and outs all along that stretch. So until there is a solid analysis taken into account of that intersection as it may soon be, whether you like it or not, I don't think you have the basis for concluding that there's not going to be a serious traffic impact there. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathy?
Hi, My name is Kathy Kaler. I live at 3224 Stadelman Drive. Directly across from where the building is to be built, which we can see from our home already. I'm not speaking on statistics. I'm just going to tell you what I see at the intersections as I go to work. I do work 3 to 4 days a week, driving in the morning, also in the evening, sometimes late at night because I'm on call as a home health nurse. So I have seen on the intersection of Mill Creek Mill Road and Stadelman Drive multiple accidents, small accidents, but enough that people have gotten injured because there's no way to prevent the large trucks that are coming with the fruit, because there's it's not Stadelman anymore, it's Mount Adams has their storage area right there. The big trucks coming in with fruit also come along the same time that we have bicyclers going down now Mill Creek Mill Road. We have pedestrians now coming down Mill Creek Mill Road onto Stadelman Drive. There's no access for them to do that, no bike lanes, no sidewalks for them to do that. We also now have another farm stand on Mill Creek Mill Road where you come off right off of Highway 35. They now have Pear Blossom, which they just had a run there. While that run was there, there's trucks going, the big trucks going back and forth. They're going to be increasing that with the number of trucks that will be going out. I've seen accidents on Sunday Road intersecting with Mill Creek Mill Road, because the last one I saw, a person was working at Cardinal Glass coming down, not 25 miles an hour, not 35 miles an hour, but about 40 to 50 miles an hour. And someone's coming off a Sunday Road and they hit right there because no one's paying attention to that. That's just going to increase with the number of people coming to work, the vans that are going through. When they're talking about the increase of product going out at Christmas time and the vans increasing, they're correct in saying that someone will try and take the shortest route to get somewhere. Oftentimes that shortest route is going down Stadelman Drive, the drive that I live on, and it will be filled sometimes with fruit trucks right now that are delivering fruit or taking fruit from the packing houses because it's a shorter route. They don't have to deal with the intersection at 35 and Davis, and they'll come down there. We've seen trucks flip on Stadelman Drive going around the corner because they're going too fast, which I believe would increase with the number of vans that will be coming. I've seen one bicyclist get thrown off the road on Mill Creek Mill Road because there's no place for them to be, but in the road, the truck comes by, does not see the bicyclist, they get tossed into the ditch. I don't know what else to tell you. The noise is incredible on Mill Creek Mill Road, and we hear it nonstop sometimes during the night when they're off hours and people come in and going to work from the Cardinal Glass. We have complained about the noise. It never changes. People driving fast, people stopping and having lunch right there or dinner, whatever it would be, by the railroad tracks. The increase in the number of people right there where there's an opportunity to create more noise is overwhelming. I am quite concerned about the traffic. We have people who sit on the kids sitting at the bus stop in the morning, right at the corner of Mill Creek Mill Road and Stadelman Drive, waiting for the bus, having to back off because the big trucks are making turns going around that corner. So I don't have the statistics, but I do see a lot that happens, as well as here's the crashes on Highway 35 when they do happen. So just wanting you to know that the increase in traffic will most certainly increase the number of accidents that happen on that road. I have to say.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
Stephen Austin.
Hello, my name is Stephen Austin. I live at 3180 Neil Creek Mill Road. Here in Hood River. All these people have voiced concerns about traffic, which are very legitimate. They're talking about adding a lot more traffic than what we have already. The traffic engineers that spoke earlier this evening were talking about traffic accidents that happened on Sunday Road and Neil Creek's intersection with the Highway 35. At the moment, you could lay down and take a nap in the middle of the road. There isn't that many people driving across there one way or the other, but that's soon to change if this is put into effect. Because from my understanding, most of this Amazon trucks are going to pull in and out of that road. My driveway is on Neil Creek Mill Road, right across where they're accessing their trucks coming from Highway 35 headed south, turning on Neil Creek Mill Road. They go right past my driveway. We have a lot of traffic. This lady previously to me spoke about a lot of traffic, a lot of noise. We have a lot of traffic and a lot of noise now. You're adding to that. The other one is we all live in an agricultural community. It's quite small. We kind of like where we're at. We kind of like the agricultural community. I don't know if we're ready in for a big industrial complex to move in. And Amazon is kind of like the creepy crud. I think they get in and who knows what's going to happen in 5 years from now. We'll see what happens then. They appropriated a lot of property in this operation. So I'm expanding or expecting it to expand. It's kind of like Cardinal Glass. And the traffic is a huge, huge problem. We drive in and out off of Neal Creek Mill Road onto Highway 35. If you look to your south, you have to be very careful when you pull out on the highway there because trucks come down the hill at a huge rate of speed. And it is going to cause a lot of problems. It's going to cause a lot of problems. You fellas apparently have to listen to all of us to make a decision on what goes on here, which I don't envy you. But at the same time, if your constituency is here, I don't think you're going to find a whole lot of people that live in Odell or in our area that want anything to do with Amazon having another complex here. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Steve. Peter Belmont.
Hi, good evening. Excuse me, my name is Peter Belmont. I live at 1018 Ena Road here in Hood River. I basically want to support most of the comments that you've heard here already this evening, particularly those of Thrive and the written comments that Mr. Owen submitted on April 1st. My perspective is primarily as a bicyclist. I spend probably more trips in that area on a bicycle than I do in a car. As noted in the letter from Mr. Owen, and I'm sure as you're aware that it's a pretty popular area for cycling, the East Side Ride, the Fruit Loop. To me as a cyclist, there's a lot of difference what is safe as compared to a driver in a car. I have a heightened concern from a cyclist perspective that to me there are the roads in question are now relatively quiet. They're safe for cycling. They're narrow roads, but with the increased traffic, that will change completely. And to me, that will make it something that I expect will be not a safe way to cycle in the future. The one other thing I just wanted to comment that I think you're well aware of, but you obviously have had the reports from the traffic engineers. They look at levels of service and things of that nature. Yeah, it meets the level of service, but that doesn't mean it's safe. I hope you will consider that fact, and I hope you will consider the testimony that you're hearing. You can consider citizen testimony just as you can consider the testimony as engineers in reaching your decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Joy?
I'll be happy to give my 3 minutes to someone else if they want to talk.
Well, we're gonna go in order, so Kate Nichols.
Hello, my name's Kate Nichols. I live at 1706 Avalon Drive here in Hood River. And it's really interesting to hear the two sides and the fact that it's an industrial use space. And so that means it's good to go. You can do what you need to do because of that, but it's not done in a vacuum, right? We have people, we have animals that live out there. I was going to talk about light pollution, air pollution, noise pollution, but I listen to the people here and it's like they live out there. And I know that the trucks are supposed to be going at night, but that doesn't mean that they won't increase during the high impact times that one gentleman was speaking about. So I ask that you consider carefully the human impact of what this will change for this area. The area wasn't built for this kind of excess materials and trucks on the road. Thank you.
Thank you. Allison Fitz.
Give my time to someone.
Patricia.
Good evening. I'm Patricia Garrett. I live at 3811 Summit and in Hood River, but actually we call it Odell. I've lived out there for 44 years. 40 years, my husband and I owned a business out there. 25 years in education at Mid Valley Elementary and Pine Grove Elementary. And I know Highway 35 very well. I traveled it daily for years, and now I avoid it in my retirement. Why? I'll tell you right now, I heard what you had to say about your studies, but that's not the reality I live on when I travel Highway 35. You see, my sister-in-law and her family own a business on Highway 35. Another sister-in-law lived out there on Highway 35 for over 10 years. My best friend lives right off of Highway 35 near where they want to go in, and my son lives on Highway 35. I have a vested interest in the safety of Highway 35, and it doesn't correspond to what's on paper. I wondered if instead of doing a traffic impact, why don't you get about 500 cars and just run them in and out all day long and see how that impacts? That's a practical application, in my opinion. Now, I believe, and it's only my opinion, you can take with whatever you want, but there's going to be more accidents. And it's not a when, it's what's going to happen and how bad are they going to be. Wise Fire District, I believe, only has 2 paid people. The rest is all volunteer. They are unsung heroes of our community. And they stop what they're doing and respond no matter what. And how many times a week are their calls going to increase where they stop what they're doing and head to save somebody? We haven't had an ambulance out there in years, decades. So maybe we need another ambulance. Maybe we need some paramedics. Maybe we need a stoplight. And I agree with what Mr. Parker said. It's not just where you're coming in off and on into Amazon. It impacts all the way down and up Highway 35. And I don't know about you, but I seem to be the only person in the county that drives 55 on 35. This location is going to put citizens at risk, and I just pray that my loved ones and all that use this busy highway stay safe. Because I'm friends with many of you folks here, and I love you, and I don't want to see anybody get hurt. Thank you.
Thanks, Patricia. April Snyder. Chris Roback.
Chris Roebuck, like Sears and Roebuck.
Isn't that what I said? Okay.
Thank you.
Chris Roebuck, 4380 Barrett, speaking as Thrive Hood River. I want to go on the record with regard to what Mary Ellen Barialotti brought up with regard to a wholesale distribution. Remember that this site is being approved as a wholesale distributor. Keith pointed out the meeting that we had with he and Eric. County staff are wonderful, always generous with their time and incredibly knowledgeable. So we cleared up the whole Millville thing. But as part of that conversation, we also mentioned this wholesale distribution idea. And Eric said that the county's interpretation, and feel free, Eric, to interrupt if I misquoted you, is that wholesale means the customer doesn't come to the site. And given the county's discretion to interpret its code, we let that one go. However, hearing Mary Ellen tonight, it sounds like the definition of wholesale is in statute. And if that's the case, the county doesn't have the right to interpret it as they wish, but rather it has to be interpreted according to statute. So if you decide to delay approval, that would give us some time to work through that issue. Or perhaps grounds to deny it tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Dale Hill.
I would like to apologize. I made a mistake when I typed this up and I had it for county commissioners, not planning. If you can ignore that faux pas, the commentary is still justified in my mind. Next. Thank you. You need two divisions. Thank you. My name is Dale Hill. I live at 5200 Woodworth Drive in Parkdale. There is a single data set from a single day, Wednesday, September 10th, 2025, of data which was collected for the traffic impact study, according to the traffic impact study. This is a statistically deficient sampling methodology. It should include multiple days of the week and seasonal variations. I know about that stuff. I was a math teacher. I have a BA in mathematics or BS in mathematics from Oklahoma University. Most residents along Highway 35 are well aware of these seasonal variations during the winter ski season. I myself have had to wait for 20 to 30 or more cars to pass during these times in order to enter onto Highway 35. Secondly, Article 31.60.A states site access will not cause dangerous intersections or traffic congestion, and roadway capacity, speed limits, and the number of turning movements shall all be considered. There are 548 estimated additional daily trips expected. A significant majority of these are expected and in fact directed by the project operators according to the studies and the reports that these would occur at Neal Creek Mill Road on the Highway 35 intersection. 70% of those trips, or 384, will require crossing the southbound lanes to get into the northbound lanes where they're expected to go up to, I think, to 84 and then out to where they go. This will occur in the wintertime. It will occur possibly in the dark, and it may be on winter icy roads. Third point, the TIS study includes, quote, the addition of project traffic is expected to have nominal impact on traffic operations at the study intersection. Close quote. It is my opinion that 548 additional trips with 384 being directed to a single intersection is far from a nominal impact. I believe it is important for the commissioners to understand the validity of the concerns I and many others have raised about decreasing the traffic safety due to the project. Local citizens understand and experience the impacts on our lives better than ODOT bureaucrats and traffic engineers 3,000 miles away. Do we even know if ODOT or NVS personnel ever came to observe the conditions on the ground? Just looking at maps and applying regulatory language cannot adequately account for the public's understanding of how a project may impact their lives, and in this case, makes their community less safe. I hope you will undertake your efforts to do the job for which you were elected by the citizens to do, and look at all of the matters that have been raised. Thank you.
Thanks, Dale. Is there anyone else that wishes to testify?
My name is David Seal. I live at 2954 Casisto Road, which means I use the Deathman Ridge access road to 35 sometimes several times a day, even though I'm retired. I find the traffic report given by the gentleman behind to be kind of myopic. It didn't account also for the amount of congestion you're going to find downstream, down toward Hood River. And the Button Bridge complex, right away, the traffic backs up there. There's going to be a lot of traffic coming on from 84. That wasn't presented here. It's also, we've got the lumber trucks coming from just on the other side of Middle Mountain. We've got the intersections at that farm. We've got the intersection by the gas station. Those sorts, the downstream traffic, the traffic that goes north, that was not presented. And I hope you people take that into consideration too, because that's going to affect Hood River. downtown Hood River as well as the people who live out by Odell. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Hello, I'm Marcy Hasegawa, 7680 Baseline in Parkdale. And I think I agree with pretty much everything that's been said tonight. It is interesting that the studies said that it's a safe intersection because any of us that live in Upper Valley, when we get to the Odell intersection, we all signal to the left lane, go past it, and then signal back to the right because of so many near accidents or concerns, or a lot of people that don't know the meaning of the word yield on the signs. But I wanted to talk about Amazon. I've been doing a lot of research on last mile distribution centers, whether it's industrial, wholesale, whatever we call it, it's Amazon. Amazon has quite a reputation for these last mile distribution centers, particularly once they're approved, they're built and they start. These are not drivers, these 500 and some vehicles are not Amazon employees. They're contract. Amazon uses a system called DSP, Delivery Service Providers. And what Amazon promises in the permitting state that they'll go before rush hour or after, it doesn't happen after they're open, particularly when their volumes increase. And when other communities have asked them to follow and adhere to what they had in the permitting, they say they're not responsible because these are DSPs, these are contract deliveries, and they're responsible. The other thing that's concerning about these DSP delivery drivers is in 2023 and 2024, these Amazon contract drivers had a 9.2% accident rate per 100 drivers versus the national average of 2.4. That's 3 times the national average. Amazon has a very sophisticated tracking system for their delivery drivers. They have GPSs, they have cameras. These drivers are paid and incented on a variety of things. One is safety, but a significant part is delivery time. You are asking us as a community to allow 500 some additional vehicles a day with a company that, how are we going to hold them accountable? If they grow, if it's the holidays, how are we going to hold them accountable to these off-peak delivery times? Do we have the funding legally to hold them accountable? My concerns are the same as everybody else has spoken, but truly this is Amazon. They have a very productive delivery model, and we're adding those delivery drivers to Highway 35 and through our community. And I think we all agree, we live in a beautiful community that we want safe for all of us that live here. Thank you.
Thanks, Marcy. Anybody else?
Hi, my name's Dale Milam, 4890 Highway 35. I'm gonna do some of my research right here. I'm just curious, how many of you sitting at the tables live in Hood River County? All of you? How many of you out here? I can see 3 that not just seeing, but there's how many? Okay, so I looked up your agenda for tonight and I saw this comment about, or that this is an application submitted by Grant Goldman, AMS 2025 BTS, Dallesport, Washington, LLC. And I thought, who in the world is that? So I looked him up and it says it's a foreign limited liability company, has entity as a domestic jurisdiction of Delaware, principal offices in Indianapolis. And I thought, well, who's representing the people of this county? I think it's you, right? That's your job. Guessing you 3 are representing Amazon and whoever in the world this is, and you're doing your job. I have no problem with that. But their interest is not Hood River County, and our interest is. And I'm guessing most of us don't live here. We didn't move here or continue to live here because we're so thrilled about warehouses. Like that is what Hood River is known for. That's what every other cheap community around the country may be known for. We're known for agriculture. We're known for natural beauty. We're known for recreational opportunities. Recreation isn't slaloming between Amazon trucks. To me, this is a no-brainer. Like, do what's in the best interest of the people of this county, not some foreign entity out of Indianapolis or Delaware, or even Portland. Seen a lot of bumper stickers that say, "Don't Portland my Oregon," and I would say, let's not Portland Hood River. Let's keep this place the special place it is. It's a no-brainer. Thanks.
Anyone else?
Come on up, Mary Beth.
You know, I didn't sign up, but I just have one quick comment to make. My name is Mary Beth Kennedy, and we farm on Highway 35 and we run a business on Highway 35. I've lived here all my life. And I don't know if a lot of people that are present tonight know that there's also a proposal for 500 homes to go in Odell. So if that were to happen, we're not talking about 500 cars. We're talking about at least 1,000. And they've got a kid, so maybe you're talking 1,500. So we're gonna add that
Hey, Mary Beth,
to what's going on.
we're up here.
So, sorry, but these are the people that have come tonight and, it's wonderful. And I think that everyone has said the appropriate things that needed to be heard. But I just wanted to add that. I mean, if that really was to happen, if this goes on and then the 500 homes go on, it's just not something that this valley needs or wants. Just ask all these people here. Thank you.
Is there anyone else?
Hello, I've never met you before. I'm glad I could be here tonight. My name is Pamela Krause. I live at 315 Juden Street, Hood River. I am versatile. I go through the valley and have for decades living here. I found some of the logical things tonight not very logical, like there's talk about major traffic happening not during the morning hours and coming home hours. Well, kind of we're a scenic area. We have visitors all the time. I've never seen log trucks obey our business hour standards. So those kind of things were really warpy for me tonight. So I'm really pleased and grateful for the community that's spoken to lots of different dimensional issues that are real here. And you do have responsibility to do the best for the community, not for an outside entity that follows traffic regulations of egress and ingress. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Hi, I'm Joe Giordano, live in town here on Prospect Avenue. And just to summarize what I've heard, it just sounds to me like that traffic study that was done probably needs to be redone. And so if that was the case, I'm hoping that that means there's more time that you all get to consider everything that was just said tonight. That's all.
Thank you. There's somebody else. Come on up.
Hello, my name is Marifer Ortiz. I'm at 33.
What?
Marifer Ortiz, that's Maryfer, at 3344 AGA Road. I just wanted to emphasize how adamantly I feel about this position. I was watching the live stream and literally drove my way here because I felt like I needed someone who was young to speak on this issue. I grew up in Hood River. I'm currently 23 years old. I graduated from Portland State University. We learned a lot about research in my department. And from that perspective itself, I can say and agree with everybody else who has already spoken that that is not a sane argument. It wasn't presented with enough information. It doesn't even include some summer peak hours, which people have already previously stated. I also don't know if you guys are all aware of the incident that happened at Troutdale's location not too long ago, where a worker passed away and workers were told to remain working while this individual was deceased on the ground. An organization that shows no empathy for its employees will not show any empathy for the community members. If the people are telling you no, no means no. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Vince?
Hi, my name is Ben Zuckerman. Our family has several orchards in the valley here, one over in Pine Grove.
Address.
Huh?
Address.
Oh, I'm sorry, 2175 Mason Road. And another one by Y East. And so we use Highway 35 daily, and we haul fruit up and down it. We haul empty bins. We make multiple trips, especially during the summer months, and it's extremely busy freeway as it is right now. And I cannot for the life of me imagine why you'd want to add more traffic to that road. There's the ODOT numbers I heard when I first walked in. I don't know where they generated those, but it doesn't fit with my version of reality. Driving there almost daily, I see near misses and accidents and tourists stopping to look at the fruit stands and, you know, looking at their Google Maps, trying to figure out where they are. And I nearly rear-ended, I don't know how many of them in that same stretch of road. The Neil Creek statistic, the reason there's no accidents there is because nobody goes in there right now. So that makes no sense. And despite the fact my wife would like to be here and testify too, and she single-handedly supports Amazon with her shoe collection. And even so, she would speak against it. I'm just have to tell you. And my final question is, why here? Why now? Why can't that go somewhere else? Why can't it be in the Dalles? There's a perfectly good place up there next to Google. I'm sure they'd be right next to the freeway. They'd have instant access. They wouldn't cause any traffic problems. They wouldn't impact any of us. They wouldn't already congest a road that's just terribly congested in the summer with the tourists and the log trucks and the fruit trucks. And the Daimler-Benz runs their test vehicles up. I don't know if you guys have noticed that. These big, heavy, overloaded semis are driving up Highway 35 all year round. And they test them going around the mountain. And I don't know. Appreciate you letting me talk. And I hope you make the right decision. Thank you.
Thanks, Vince. Is there anybody else? Nobody else?
Mr. Chair, we have members of the public.
Okay, they're online.
Yes.
Okay.
Hello. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
This is Josh Owen, 3355 Neil Creek Mill Road. Didn't think I was going to make it on vacation and don't have very good service here. So hopefully you guys can hear me. Anyway, I live on Neil Creek Mill Road like many of the people here, and it is hard to get out of my driveway. And I sent in some photos that if you could put those on the screen, I'd appreciate it. There's photo 1 and photo 2 from my attachments that I sent in on my very long letter that I sent previously. And let's see, the thing that I want to start with is, as you can see, I pulling out of that driveway, people bombing down the corner, almost always in the middle of the lane. I don't know why they're always in the middle of the lane, but they just are. And there's the next photo is the other direction, which is another blind corner that is just very difficult to get out. After that blind corner, I go to turn onto Davis Drive and I have another blind corner. Then I go to turn onto Highway 35 and another blind corner. Many near accidents, and your traffic study is bogus. And on top of that, you've got a Portland attorney just manipulating everything she's saying that there are no accidents, and not acknowledging their own study that said that there were 16, which is already extremely low. And incorrect. So you need to do a new study. And I want to mention that the Hood River County Community Development Department's own mission statement says its purpose is to, and I quote, sustain and enhance livability in the county's rural and resort communities, not to maximize land sale revenue for the port, not to rubber stamp a $3.4 million transaction that was quietly added to a meeting agenda as the meeting began, with the public none the wiser. And I am part of the rural community, as are many of my neighbors that are there tonight, that you're supposed to be protecting, but you're not. And I'm asking you to take another look at this, and hopefully you'll be able to get it right this time. When the sellers, the applicant sponsor, and the approving agency all have a financial stake in the same outcome, the residents living closest to this project deserve to know that their safety concerns received an independent, unbiased review, and we didn't. So I've lived on this road. I've had this house for 18 years. I can't walk my dog. I can't ride my bike on it. It's very dangerous every time I pull out of my driveway. And I'm not even going to get into the part that I wrote about the code. We all know that's just another manipulation from an attorney trying to skew things and put it so that this one of the wealthiest corporations in the world can just get their way. And that's how it's going to be when there are problems. They're going to do the same thing. They're going to hire another attorney that's just willing to manipulate the truth as much as needed to keep that big client happy. And I just ask that we use common sense here. Think about what you're going to be doing to the businesses, the small orchards, the farm stands. Nobody's going to go there if they can't pull out of visiting the farm stand. Like it's impossible. It's already really difficult. So I feel like the county is choosing a wealthy organization like Amazon over its own residents and its own small businesses, and it's just not right. And I'm not saying a warehouse shouldn't be built in industrial zoning. Obviously that's stupid, but I'm saying that the roads that they're proposing to use cannot safely support this additional level of traffic.
How much more time do you need?
I'm good. I guess the one thing I said, I asked the commission to sustain the appeal, or at a minimum require an honest, independent safety analysis before a single truck rolls through my neighborhood. Thanks.
Thank you. May I make one additional comment? Hold on. Anybody else, Tony?
No.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Again, David Seal, Casisto Road. Nobody's talked yet about the trucks that, or the vehicles that are gonna start to go through Odell on 302. And the intersection with Summit, and 302 is already a tricky intersection, partly because the building on the northwest corner blocks the view unless you're right there. There's gonna be a lot of Amazon traffic going that way into Hood River. Haven't heard anybody talk about that yet. Thank you. Anybody else?
Hey, want to speak from my seat, or you want me to sit?
You have to come up here.
Okay. Pardon me, I just did. My name is April Snyder, I'm at 1219.
Wait a second, I already called you and you didn't want to talk.
I know, but this young lady over here inspired me in the corner. ¿Cuál es tu nombre? Monica. I'd like to speak to Amazon's ethics.
Hey, we're talking about
Oh,
traffic.
no. Oh, it's solo traffic? Oh, my bad.
Good,
I'm
thank
out.
you.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Okay. We got somebody online, right? Yeah.
See if they accept. They just accepted.
What's that?
They just attempted.
Okay.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Yesenia Sanchez, and I own the property at 3110 Neil Creek Mill Road, the farm that is Pear Bloom Farm. The proposed plan would take trucks through basically impact half a mile of the edge of our property. And I am not in support of this, and I agree with a lot of the comments that have been stated already, but I just really want to speak as a farmer and as a mother. As a farmer, we are driving tractors on the road if we need to move from farm to farm. We really haven't talked about that, and that is a huge piece of traffic concern for Amazon's facility and all this extra traffic coming through. Farm workers and farmers, these are all family farms that are operating. Most of the farms in the valley are family farms. We rely on agriculture. This is an agricultural area. This industrial zone is in the heart of Hood River's agriculture. This would negatively impact all of the farming community and would increase the risk to the farmers. My husband is out there on his tractor, and sometimes when they move from farm to farm, they will get a line of cars behind them. And the people in the community know that, okay, that's a tractor, we're going to wait. They're on their way to do what they need to do. If we get drivers coming in that are from out of town, that have no idea what's going on, they're used to going to delivery centers that are in the city and haven't encountered an agricultural community, how will they navigate around tractors? I don't know that. But I am concerned because I want my husband to come home and I want all of my farm workers to go home to their families. So that's something that's not accounted for. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that this traffic study is taking into account the agricultural community and other vehicles, not just bikes, not just pedestrians, not just the families that just commute around the valley, but the farm workers and farmers that are out there trying to do what we need to do. Secondly, as a mother, I have children that are going to be someday, hopefully, driving around the valley and driving on Highway 35, driving hopefully on that Mule Creek Mill Road. And increased traffic from Amazon drivers is not going to be the way to go. And it's not going to make me feel at peace knowing that there is all this increased risk and all these increased chances for accidents on those roads when my kids start to drive or when I'm driving with my own kids in the car. So I just want that as a mother to communicate that. As a farm stand owner there, we are inviting people to come out and enjoy the natural beauty, to support our farm and to support our family farming operation. We love opening our doors and opening our farm and welcoming people, but it is going to impact our visitors. And we're inviting families out and we want everyone to be safe. I believe this traffic study is not reflecting that.
Thanks, Yesenia. Anybody else?
Hi, my name is Oscar Ortiz. I am currently living in 3344 AGA Road. And I have been living here my entire life for 17 years, and I have been in 2 car accidents on Highway 35. One with my dad on his truck, which caused us to swerve, and the other one on my way to work at Mount Hood Meadows. The first incident is a bunch of traffic and a truck driver. The truck driver was swerving on Highway 35 and my dad had to swerve too. That kind of gave me PTSD and I don't think the highway is safe right now. adding more truck drivers could increase more swerves and even car accidents. The second time, going to Mount Hood Meadows, it was on a bus and we ran over a deer. So I don't know if you guys have been driving around Highway 35 lately, but there has been a lot of deers right now. I want you guys to please consider the fact that this isn't just going to affect us, the community, but also the animals around it. And I would also like to say that during the winter, the highway is not safe. I have swerved, my family has swerved there multiple times. Adding trucks is just going to increase what's happening to us. Thank you.
Thanks, Oscar. Anybody else?
Hi, everyone. Audra Moffett, 1585 9th Court, in Hood River. I'll be brief. I just want to make it clear that for me, I do not believe that it was okay for Commissioner Von Lipkin to silence April. I understand.
Talking about a traffic
No, I
study.
understand. Please let me finish. I have my time.
Sure.
I understand that we're talking about traffic right now, and I kind of understand why you shut her down. But since it sounds like the community is interested in discussing the ethics of organizations coming into the community, it would behoove the commission to at least listen to them, to hear them. It is your job to listen to us and hear our concerns regardless of their nature. So yeah, I just
Well,
really think that
it's part of relevant testimony, and I read that when I read the whole thing. It needs to be relevant.
so then we should have a meeting in which it is relevant. So
We're talking about traffic and talking about
today we're
Amazon.
talking about traffic. How does one initiate a meeting to talk about the things the community would like to discuss?
You go there.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Anybody else? Is there any interested public agencies? Keith? No. Applicants rebuttal, 5 minutes.
Is there a chance we could take a 5-minute break before?
Yes, we can. Thank you. We're gonna reconvene. Done. Yeah. We're starting the meeting again. If you're on your way out, if you're gonna stay, you probably would. Okay, we will hear from the applicant.
Thank you. Chair Von Lupkin and Commissioners, Carrie Richter again, attorney representing the applicant. You've heard a lot of testimony and we can't possibly address it all in 5 minutes. We do take it very seriously and we do intend to respond in writing to all of the comments that were received during the open record period that I believe you are going to accommodate. Again, I want to reiterate that the zoning here is industrial. And clearly the testimony we've heard, these folks would like the zoning to be something else. They would like it to be agricultural. They would like it to be maybe open space because the highway doesn't have capacity, but they would like the zoning to be something else. And the zoning could be something else, but it can't be something else today. And it can't be something else to affect this particular application. This particular application is for an industrial development that qualifies as wholesale distributing or outlet because customers cannot come to this facility and buy anything. They cannot drive there and park and walk in. No public will be able to go into this facility. That's what makes it wholesale warehousing, distribution, and outlet. Although these goods will be delivered to customers off-site. That's what makes it a warehouse. I'd like to turn it over to John to talk a little bit more about traffic, but again, I think he's gonna respond in detail to all the comments. Go ahead.
That's again, John Karnowski with NV5. Just a quick comment about the process. The process that we follow, ODOT follows, the county follows, is very standardized throughout the country. We do this everywhere. One of the books about it is from the Institute of Transportation Engineers. It's called Traffic Impact Analysis for Site Development, version 2, of which I was one of the editors of back in the early 2000s. I've been around for a long time, follow the same procedures that everybody else follows. So as far as the traffic study and what goes in the traffic study, those are fairly standard. The results of it, what we study, and all of that is, again, open and you can trace it from the very beginning of the study to the end. You can follow every calculation that's made. So anybody can make an independent review of the work that we did. There was some comments about the scope of the study. Did you study this intersection, that intersection, this one? What we did is we just looked at the ones that were the most likely to be impacted from turning movements, not necessarily through movements. But you could take the trips all the way to, I don't know, Portland, maybe, I don't know, from some of the trucks that may start from there. So you could continue on, but you have to constrain it in some way to make it reasonable. And that's what the study was. I think Mr. Cleveland over there mentioned several times about how this was reviewed by ODOT and the county. I mean, if we had to study something else, we could have studied something else, but I would tell you that from my experience, many years of experience of doing these things, it wouldn't have changed anything. Not one bit, not one of those intersections that was mentioned would have changed. So, and again, it is an opinion, but it is my professional opinion.
Thank you.
Just to close out, I just wanna, the testimony raised a number of issues, saying things like, there needs to be a finding that there's not going to be a serious traffic impact. Or can't decrease traffic safety, or impacts to downtown traffic affect downtown Hood River, or what's in the best interest of Hood River. These are all criteria for a conditional use. Public interest is a conditional use criterion. It is not a site review criterion. The site review criterion are the criterion that you all have to find are satisfied. Based on substantial evidence, based on the testimony we presented. I think what we have presented to you is a reasonable basis to find that the site access will not cause dangerous intersections or traffic congestion. They will have adequate visibility for motorists and pedestrians, and will be kept at the minimum needed for safe ingress and egress. I would welcome the opportunity to answer any further questions that you may have. But we hope that you will leave the record open for a 777 period.
You're asking for a continuance?
I'm not asking for one. I believe you have received a request for one from Mr. Owens. And I am saying that we would welcome that, and that we hope that you go with the 777 period, which will allow us to respond in writing in a comprehensive way. And we will get our final written materials to you 24 hours before your meeting, so you'll have time to review.
Do you have the dates for that? What that would be, Keith?
Yeah, so the first 7 days, which is open to any new written evidence, would go until April 29th at close of business, so April 29th, 5 p.m. The second 7 days, which is to rebut any new evidence provided in writing, would be May 6th. And the final 7 days reserved for the applicant for the final comments, which would land on May 13th, which is next planning commission hearing.
So the commissioners can ask questions now. Okay. We'll start with Commissioner Lewis. Do you have any questions?
No, I don't have any questions.
Commissioner Moore?
Yeah, question. So, this goes to the gentleman that's, transportation expert. Can you talk a little bit more about what happens in other situations, jurisdictions with, interactions with ODOT or Department of Transportation and consultants, and counties or cities or other jurisdictions when there is a situation where it could be questionable or there's something raised that does come up in a study? It's not just something that says, well, we don't have any problems with these studies like they did here. Can you talk about like what's the process to create any kind, if there's any kind of ambiguity or issues with what agency typically raises those?
Are you asking if there's a problem with the study itself or that if the study reveals problems?
The study reveals problems.
So had we found, say, one of the intersections was going to be overburdened and needed a traffic signal?
Yes.
If something along those lines?
Yes.
Yeah, that would go to the jurisdiction who has control. So in this case, it would most likely be ODOT because it's their highway. If we wanted to make an improvement at a particular roadway, or if we found something in the study that said, that you ODOT have a problem here, it may not be associated with the development, or it may be existing, or it may be exacerbated by development. Those happen all the time. Yes, we would alert them. That would be part of it. There's in those other communities, they have the opportunity to maybe put the burden of improvements on the development. If it's an existing issue, the burden of improvements usually on that community or on ODOT in that case. So yeah, that's kind of how we didn't find any of that. So none of that
Right.
applies to this, but yes, that would be the process.
And so do you, in your profession, have you ever seen it where different jurisdictions disagree or have
all the
discrepancies?
All the time.
But that didn't happen.
No. And we would work to try to find the common ground anyway. But yeah, different jurisdictions have different ways of interpreting things. But in this case, given that they're all unsignalized intersections, fairly low volume, no major histories, no issues with traffic, nobody seemed to have any issues at all with it.
Thank you. No further questions.
Commissioner Guisto?
I have a few questions also for you. So what's just some clarifications, because there was a lot of reading and on the traffic study. Was the traffic study done on one single day?
Were the traffic volumes,
Yes.
the traffic volumes were collected for a single day?
So
Yes.
it was a day in September on a Wednesday.
Yes.
Okay, so that's clarified. And then you were doing, the study is based on those peak times or the non-peak times and the certain vehicles. It's like,
The non-peak of the year? Of
no, I'm talking about like the semi trucks versus the vans coming in. Like after 9 AM and after
Yes.
6 PM or something. So you did not take into account if those trucks are coming in during peak times at all.
Yes, so if the trucks did come in or projected to come in during peak times, yes, we would have done that. I don't think that was the case, though. Most of the trucks do come in sort of after 8 o'clock at night, and they come in throughout the night. The reason is because they're bringing sorted products to the site for them to then sort by delivery vehicles in the middle of the night. So the products are having to come, but so that the on-site employees have the work to sort them, put them on the vans and go.
Right.
Just real quick about the question about the day. It is fairly typical that we would choose a day that is believed to be representative of a normal day, not necessarily a peak day, not a low volume day. So when we collect it, it's usually when the development would have a regular impact. So we wouldn't probably look at a Sunday, it's just pretty low. The highest impacts are usually a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We look to do it when schools are in session, because then you have other commuters in the area that are likely to be at work rather than say during holidays. So that's the typical time we do. Again, this goes back to be doing this the way that ODOT and the county wanted us to do it, which was during a typical type of day.
Would you ever do a study where you take maybe like 5 days on like various, like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday over the course of the month, or like multiple weeks?
Yeah, we have done that, but
So that we
it
get-
rarely makes any difference because the variation from a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday probably wouldn't do a Monday or Friday, just because those tend to be very different, especially in today's way of working. That Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday tends to be more normal. There's very little variation, even if there were 20 cars difference, 30 cars difference, it wouldn't make any difference in the results of the analysis.
And then. So. The vans, so the semi trucks are coming and they're delivering the things to the warehouse, but then the vans are. Taking the things from the warehouse and like dispersing amongst the community.
Correct.
And that there was no traffic study taking those items down through Odell. So nothing going through Odell, everything was going down Highway 35 to the north.
The traffic study did assume a few vehicles to go that way. I think there were actually probably more employees, not necessarily vans. It could have been vans, I guess. But if people worked if people lived in Odell area and they worked there, you know, they're commuters. Maybe they're van drivers and they come up there. The distribution that we showed on the screen simply was from the site out 70% to the north, 30% to the south. It's very possible that if there are deliveries back in Odell, that you would have vans that would go there. I mean, that's, you'd want them to.
The way Hood River is situated, like the fastest way to the town of Hood River, like the west side of Hood River, would be through Odell. It would not be down Highway 35 and then around, like there's no better way to Hood River than through Odell.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to the Dalles, then you would go down Highway 35. If you're going to Washington, you would go down Highway 35.
The main, okay, for the northbound traffic, the traffic that would head north, that traffic was gonna come out and come out to the north intersection at, Mill Creek, Mill Road, getting all my roads mixed up today. Anything go to the south is like coming out. Well, the intention is for them to come out Sunday Drive. That's the way that they will be routed. They'll be routed out to Sunday and turn right onto 35. If there are deliveries and what you said, sure, they may have to go through the town, but that's typical what they do now. I mean, the vans would be evident there today. Not necessarily that path, but they would be coming in some way to those areas.
Those are all my questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Lyman?
Several questions. First for Ms. Richter. Your definition of wholesale is substantially different from the definition that was provided by the speaker. Has that definition that you provided is it part of case law? Has it been litigated?
The answer is no.
It has not.
It has not, and it's not dictated by state law. This is a local interpretation that the county planning staff has indicated is what the county has used historically to define this term. And so what an administrative rule, how an administrative rule defines it has no controlling, plays no controlling role in how Hood River County interprets.
Oh, it's a county discretion.
It's a county discretionary determination. Correct.
So the county could say that wholesale would be, as the speaker agreed, that it's a matter of selling products to other ultimate retailers, not just whether or not you have customers coming to the store.
I don't believe so, because I think that would be inconsistent with the county's past practice. And it would create a precedent where, folks who do manufacture things and deliver them wouldn't be allowed to do so.
I will, when we have a chance, I will get to the staff to ask that question. A couple of questions for Mr. Karnowski. Can I assume that you're a registered engineer in Oregon
I am,
and you have done work with ODOT in the past?
I have.
To what extent have you ever seen ODOT consider? Yes, I'm familiar with traffic studies. That's been a good part of my career in that field. There is a standard protocol, midday, midweek, morning and evening peak. Have you ever considered ODOT? Have you ever worked with ODOT to consider other peaks that have, for example, been addressed by the community? The seasonal peaks that occur with fruit harvest, the seasonal peaks that occur with ski trips.
I can't say they haven't done it, but I have not had any seasonal changes to our study. We have looked at afternoon peaks for schools. That's probably the only difference, and that's fairly common. If you have a school time, you might want to look at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But in terms of different times of the year, no. We generally will, in fact, I have had it where they said we could not collect traffic data during the summertime when schools were out of session. That was for one project, but we wouldn't normally do it like that anyway.
So ODOT's website indicates that the ski peak occurs on a Sunday afternoon.
Mhm.
Would that have any bearing on the traffic going in and out of this distribution facility?
Well, not in the afternoon. There's very little traffic in and out on the afternoon. Most of this particular user's traffic is the distribution of it out is during the morning. And then they start receiving, then their employees will leave sometime around noon. And then they start receiving the vans back in ones and twos, not in a big rush, but in ones and twos, starting around 5, 6 o'clock in the evening.
Last question, you've used the word assumed trips to and from different locations. Did you use some kind of a distribution model? How did you come up with where they're going and coming from?
That's a great question. This particular tenant has the whole reason why they plan to be there is because they have an idea of the zip codes that they're going to serve. It's part of their own internal proprietary. I wouldn't be able to tell you what they are. But they provided to us their distribution, where's their heat. They actually call it a heat map. And so from this site, the areas that they want to distribute to, the most likely path for traffic would be to the north and then some to the south. Kind of makes sense looking at the population distribution. That's where their customers are. And then we also looked at the employment possibilities, again, going where there is a concentration of potential employees is to the north and not so much to the south.
I think that's it. Thank you.
Do you want to ask your question to staff?
May I?
Oh, yeah.
So, the applicant indicated that using a definition of wholesale that was not based on whether or not customers came to the site might be in conflict with prior work, prior decisions that the county has done. Is that correct? Or, and if you don't have precedent set to establish that that's how that definition has been interpreted, why did that become the interpretation this time?
So I can't really talk about precedent. Eric Walker's been here a lot longer than I have, so maybe we can address that. But if you look at industrial uses as opposed to commercial uses, And if we look at Article 31 and outright allowed, not only distributing, but we have packaging, storage. When you look at a typical wholesale, you have employees, no customers, packaging, storing, shipping, distributing. Those are wholesale uses. Those are industrial storage facility uses. I don't think you can get around that. As opposed to retail, where you have employees, yes, but you have customers, retail customers coming to the site. You have purchasing, display racks, products, outlet stores where customers can go. This is clearly a warehouse. It's storage and packing, which is clearly outright allowed in the industrial zone. And it's distributing. So I don't know how we can define it otherwise. I did look in the chapter it's chapter 197, the land use planning, which talks about industrial uses. There are no definitions for wholesale. So there's nothing in statute. If there is, you may find something under the OLCC rules that defines wholesale versus retail liquor licenses. You can't apply that wholesale definition to land use plan. Because often those definitions will say, as it applies to section 213 whatever, here's the definition for wholesale. You can't apply that and say, well, we're gonna pull that definition out and put it in the land use plan. So we have to look at our ordinance that we pass and say, okay, this is the industrial zone. What are industrial uses? Well, I'll repeat them. Packing, storing, distributing. And so we came to the conclusion that it was a very good fit for outright allowed uses.
As far as precedence goes, warehousing facilities are not necessarily a common use. Yeah, they've come over time, but I don't know that we really have a great precedent other than, as Keith said, it seemed very straightforward and in interpreting what the ordinance allows. There's no definitions, county definition of what a wholesale versus a retail business are. And so in this case, it seemed like a very straightforward type of use that was appropriate for the industrial zones.
Thank you.
You good? Commissioner Garrett?
Gentleman from Amazon, what's your name? I'm actually with Ambrose Property Group. So we are the applicant. The entity that we filed the application under was the AMS 5 BT. Sorry, what's your actual name? My name is Dan. Dan, can we check? Yeah. I'll start with you because sure. John's had all the other questions. Well, I'll get to you, John. Don't worry. Dan, I guess the starting question is, will the applicant be involved in the facility once it's constructed and operational, or is this we are simply the site developers of this construction? And how do you get your data on how the facility will be operated in terms of shifts and operated? That is all given to us by the client. And the client in this case is? I can't say that the client is. I'm under NDA, so I can't refer to any client name. Okay, so they give you a packet of data. That's correct. What it looked like. Do you know how many employees are expected to come from the area? And if so, what the distribution is in terms of, you could give me an average radius. Fine. So the average radius will probably fall in a little bit more into maybe John's territory there. But looking at the site plan, we have it planned for, I believe it's plus or minus 90 parking spaces. And we feel that would be enough to facilitate the shifts that are going to be present at the facility. Okay. And what are the shifts? They are, yeah, it's good. Yeah, that's John. Yeah, so technically the building is going to be, it is a 24-hour operation technically, but I would say that the delivery drivers report during certain hours. What about just general employees? It says that there's 110 employees. Does that include the delivery drivers? That does. Okay. Does that include the semi-truck drivers? That does. Okay, so of the 100, is that right now? Because I think you have truck counts, is that correct?
There are 16 trucks that come in and then leave, so 32.
Or they don't include for that employee count, I guess.
I don't know. What did you tell them? How much, what was the total truck volume?
110. So
No, I think, if you look at the drivers, the on-site workers, the supervisors, that amounts to about 190.
With
Total
drivers.
employees. Truck drivers are another 16 or so.
Okay.
So a little over 200.
The total number of employees, that 110 number was just people working within
the warehouse.
And what are the shifts for those 110 workers?
They begin at 2 a.m.
And is it an equal distribution?
No, not any, no. The 2 a.m. shifts, now these are on-site workers.
Sure.
They, there's 25 of those that come in around 2 o'clock in the morning. And all of this, by the way, is in the traffic study. I'm not reading.
No,
No, I'm saying that anybody else can look at it if they needed to. You start having supervisors come in around 7 a.m. Your van drivers start coming in, so, and the supervisors come in around 8:30 for their distribution activities, their delivery activities that start around 9. They continue to come in until around 10 o'clock, 9:30 or 10 o'clock. If there is an overflow of packages, that is packages that come in after the normal sorting time, they use private independent carriers. This is also detailed in the traffic study. And those independent carriers are used on an ad hoc basis if they need it. They are summoned to the location in the same way that you would do in Uber Eats or something like that. They come pick up packages and send them out for us, that kind of thing. And those would be in the late morning, 10:30, 11 o'clock. You can consider those employees, but they're actually still just independent. That was part of the number that I just mentioned, yeah.
So 25 at the knock shift, AM shift is roughly.
They don't really follow that. It's a little hard for me to tell you exactly how that is. I can tell you that the
25 in the 2 a.m. shift, and then somewhere between.
and then
6
later
a.m.
on, yeah.
7 p.m. you get the other remaining.
Correct, yeah.
95, 85, whatever that is. Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you. For Dan, how does, and you may not be able to answer this question since you are not the operator. Does the operator of the facility have a way that they regulate routes to drivers? I know we're talking a lot about right turn out of Sunday to go south, left turn off in Mill Creek to go north, but it's not, we're not a linear distributed.
He keeps looking at me.
Well, I
don't know.
They do.
Yeah.
The short, I'm sorry to answer the question that you asked of him.
I don't know if you can answer any of these questions.
Yeah, they do. They actually use they're very unique in this. They don't have a defined route. Each driver doesn't have a defined route. The routes are defined every day. They are dynamic. They are based on where the customers are. And the best way, most efficient way to do it. I'm sure they use AI or something to come up with it. I have no idea. But it's every day is different. They're given a phone at the beginning of the shift that matches the packages that are in the van. And then they distribute based on that. And that phone tells them exactly where to go. And they pretty much have to follow that, because if they don't, they're going to be out of order, and they'll be out of order from what's in the back of the van. The operator has the ability to eliminate in certain circumstances, if it's by code or regulation of some sort, a road from a particular route, so that they have to take a certain way of getting out. They've done that in other places. Again, it would have to be based on city code or county code that requires them to do that. But they have the ability to do that.
So if a driver is given a phone that has their route, and it says turn left on Mill Creek, they could hypothetically turn left on Sunday Drive, and they wouldn't be penalized, or there would be mechanism to ensure that doesn't happen?
They, well, again, if they take the wrong route because they think they know better, they run the risk of being out of order from
You're
their
only-
packages.
You're only like a half mile away, you're heading
True.
north anyway.
I mean, if they feel like that, they feel like that's better. So what most communities will do is they will have a representative, there is a representative from the owner on site. And they can preclude those particular routes if they become a problem.
But you can still take that route voluntarily.
I mean, yeah, I mean, there's nothing that's,
There's
there's nothing
that stops.
there's nothing that's gonna stop them, but, you know, from their own internal operations, they can work to try to make
We hope
that.
it's 30% going south from Sunday and it's 70% going north from Neil Creek, but. You know,
No, it could be,
it could be 50-50.
on any one particular day. I mean, if you had somebody who buys a lot of shoes in Odell or something like that, somebody mentioned
Or
that
a
before.
driver following their own free will, right?
Not
If
likely.
you're going, I mean, there's a line of traffic to, we don't need to stay on that one. That's helpful, thank you. How many local vans will live on site? And how many are expected to come in daily, that don't live on site?
I don't think any, I think they're all on site.
On site. What happens in those, I don't know anything about the Amazon peak business, but it makes sense. There would be peaks, but there are peaks and those vans can't accommodate the peak demand. Do other vans come from, like, these are your like Uber Eats-ish drivers?
They would, in most cases, this particular operator would bring in for a season. So say between mid-November and December, excuse me, end of December. They would bring in either marketed vans or unmarked vans, and they would be on site. And so I think there's enough parking on the site plan to accommodate those so that they're not bringing them from another place and then starting to immediately deliver. They would bring and house them there for that season.
20 vans for the holidays, for example.
Correct.
Okay. And guess, John, for you, have you looked at how a holiday peak would impact traffic? Just for your pure.
Yes, it's about, it goes anywhere from 25 to 30% more during those times. As the gentleman said, it's not 3 times the number of vans, it's about 30% because it goes with the amount of package delivery. If the package delivery goes up 30%, then they need 30% more personnel, vans, you know, that kind of stuff.
So it's the same equation for employees at the factory and semis?
Yes.
So
semis, actually, no, in this particular case, this kind of facility is not those large distribution sort facilities. It's actually only 2 more trucks than.
Okay.
It's goes from 16 to like 18.
And, sorry for 20 questions. Has the existing traffic from existing Amazon vehicles today on an average basis been subtracted from the entire equation of what we're running? So there's hypothetically, there will be some existing vehicles taken off the road.
Sure, they would be a swap from their original origin, wherever they're coming from now to this facility. So no, we didn't subtract them, and we normally wouldn't.
De minimis.
Excuse me?
De minimis impact on that.
Maybe, I mean, if in some cases, in some studies, we might do that if we thought that they were significant. But it just, it's more conservative to just assume, just to add on top of them.
That's just a theoretical.
Right, we'd have to then count them and figure out how many they are, where they are.
Okay. Just a couple more questions. Where are they? I wrote them all down. How does NV5 address weather impacts? I know we have variable weather here. September 10th is generally perfect. January 10th is often not perfect. How do seasonal weather impacts typically impact a traffic study?
Probably wouldn't affect the way we would conduct the study. It might affect some of our recommendations if we saw that there was an issue. For example, here, I might be speaking out of turn, but it's Sunday at 35. You're coming down the hill on 35 if you're going southbound on 35, approaching Sunday and approaching Davis. This has been mentioned several times. Vehicles can go pretty fast if you've got snow or ice on it. But at that particular location, with the vans leaving and turning right, they actually have their own lane to turn into. There's two, it starts to widen out to 2 lanes at that location. We don't foresee anybody turning left there.
Unless they choose to.
But they could turn, exactly, but they could turn right, and they have their own lane. So if I saw that that was going to be an issue, because there was only if there were only a single lane and no place for vehicles to go around, I would have brought that up in the traffic study to say in certain circumstances, not necessarily weather, but probably speed would be the thing that we would concentrate on. So not specifically about the weather conditions, but if there was anything that I thought the weather could impact, we would have brought that up.
Okay. Then jump back to Dan real quick. You mentioned, so, sorry to jump around. An employee is given a phone, for that day.
Correct.
When they're potentially from Boardman, they're potentially from Portland, they're potentially from Odell, they're potentially from Hood, we don't really know, and that's not our judgment to decide. But they're looking at their phone. Is that something that's on a screen? Do they hold it? Is it on a mount on their truck? I'm just thinking if somebody's unfamiliar with it, they're getting a bunch of routes, how they look at that device.
I believe it's mounted.
It's mounted like everybody else's
Okay.
GPS.
Just like an air driver.
That's right.
Okay.
Well, yeah, like all of us, how we got here.
And we're gonna go with my last question here. It's an easy one. How was the date for the traffic study chosen?
For the traffic counts?
For the traffic counts.
Again, it was during the time in which school was in session, after we were released to go and do from our scoping document from the county and from ODOT. They said, yeah, okay, we're good with this. So we chose the next available regular day, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Okay, so that was just you wanted to do it while school was in session.
Correct.
Do you ever look at when school is not in session in an area, you do traffic studies everywhere, areas that have a disproportionate impact from tourism with school and teenage drivers? Because that's about 3 months out of the year.
Yeah, in Florida, for example, do a lot of work in Florida, and in Florida, it's America's playground. And so that's seemingly everybody's going there. But summertime is actually really hot. So I mean, it's like, okay, you can have more traffic there because it's summertime, but then you have a lot of the locals who leave. It turns out that July, middle of July is about normal traffic conditions. For most of the areas that we would do stuff, not like Gainesville, Florida, where the University of Florida is.
But Hood River would middle of July constitute kind of what falls in that average.
I'd have to check. I know ODOT actually publishes factors for seasonal factors for their traffic counts. We'd have to look at that.
And one last question, because I'm not looking at your traffic study. What was the average annual daily traffic count for your day in September?
For what road?
For highway, just choose one of the 2 intersections. They can't be that.
We didn't do okay. I can't tell you the intersections, but between the intersections, I think it's 5,400.
5,400 cars a day. Okay. So, okay.
That's from ODOT, actually. That's not from our collection.
That's not from your data collection.
No, that's from ODOT. annual average daily traffic, or AADT.
So you didn't your study didn't capture your own
We,
data set for that?
I don't think so, because we wouldn't normally.
Did you?
Honestly, truly, we don't really care about what the daily volume is. It doesn't mean anything from a capacity standpoint. It doesn't mean anything from an analysis standpoint. It means something to other people because they try to compare one facility to another. But from a traffic engineering standpoint, it doesn't have any bearing, because the traffic is spread out throughout the day. It's really when it's concentrated, we're most interested in that 1 hour.
So
In fact, we're actually most interested in a 15-minute period of
Okay,
time.
so, I'm sorry, at Highway 35 and Sunday Road, there was a 2 15-minute periods where the peak traffic was calculated crossing north and south past Sunday Drive. That's the mechanic of it.
We collect turning movements on a 15-minute basis for 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the evening, to find the highest times, so that we can look at the highest concentration of traffic.
And you didn't look at, so what, 2 hours in the morning and what 2 hours in the evening?
7 to 9 in the morning, 4 to 6 in the afternoon. That's fairly typical.
Okay,
See if we actually have daily counts, but I don't think we do.
that's okay. If it's in your study, I didn't think it. I think I have no other questions. Thank you, guys.
Commissioner Kitts?
You guys asked my questions.
You're welcome.
I have two more questions.
Well, I got one too. Can I ask the first?
Absolutely. Sure,
So,
please.
John, you said,
Yes.
The semi trucks coming into the facility is 16 to 18?
16, 16
And you,
typical.
so and that's counted twice, that's counted, so you count that as 32?
Correct.
Because they're leaving, but they're leaving empty, correct? Are they leaving?
Yes,
Okay.
well, usually, yeah, usually. I mean, they may take undeliverables back. One truck may take undeliverables back once a day.
Okay. Commissioner Wisdom.
Any of you can answer that knows the answer. Does the footprint of the property allow for expansion based on what you have planned right now? In the future, would you be able to expand?
Yeah, I can answer this one, because actually the client had asked that exact same question. So it will be challenging with the current configuration. As you're well aware, it's an odd shaped lot. For them to do any type of building addition, would require something else on site to be sacrificed. So I will never say never, but with its current use and the current need for employees and delivery vans, that facility needs to operate, and it is sized accordingly exactly for the operation it is today. If that helps answer your question.
And then to Eric, if there were to be an addition or an expansion in the future, would that require a new traffic study?
It depends on ultimately what they're asking for. If it's a 100 square foot addition, no. If it's, double in size, definitely. So it's really responsive to ultimately what the plan is and what's proposed.
Thank you.
I have another question. What would be the service district of the distribution center?
I don't think I can tell you that. That's proprietary
Okay.
information from
Okay,
the client.
fair enough.
Sorry.
Yep. Anybody else have any other questions?
I guess one more question.
Okay.
There you go. Do you know if the operational plan that the client provided you reflects actual conditions in other rural communities? Or is that a hypothetical? You may not know the answer, and that's fine if you say I don't.
I do know, sir.
Sorry.
I've done trip generation studies for them all across the country. This particular one is what's called a rural, super rural. Thank you. It's getting late. Rural, super rural location, and so it has a very specific type of use and a specific type of operation. Okay. But this is this is based on the full build out of the facility, like the most that it could do on a typical off-season basis based on on their. Let me answer the question that you actually asked. The total daily traffic is very, very close to what we have seen in other places. What changes sometimes is the times at which they are there. So it could be because they can't get they can't get the trucks there at a decent hour, that they shifted a little bit further down. And so that the employees don't come in at 2 o'clock in the morning, they come at 3. And they don't start their vans until 11 instead of at 10, or excuse me, 10 instead of at 9. That kind of thing might shift. But in generally, it's about the same, and it washes out in the end.
There's always instances where it's going possibly to change, but I think in reality, it's.
They kind of
the
have,
schedule is the schedule, and
they have to stick to this because this is.
They've got all the data.
That's right.
Well, they have to stick to it because it's the last mile delivery of the whole system. So they have a 3-stage system that they use when you order something, that it goes from one to the other. And if they're off by very much, it throws everything out of kilter. So they really can't change this very much. They can just tweak it a little bit based on local conditions.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Can I ask a few questions of Eric
You bet.
real quick? Couple questions. One, regarding this specific site, has this always been, I guess, undeveloped since the mill was there? Has there been anything else that's been there, or has it been quote unquote for sale or available for development since the law was passed by?
It's been vacant. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's been vacant since the mill was there.
Okay. Other question is, do you all have any situations, or have you had any other situations with current traffic and interactions or interfaces with the other folks that are at the industrial site today, with agriculture or other interests as they're leaving the facility? So you ever had any major complaints or issues going on, and has there been any proposal to try to limit that?
I can just speak for myself and my experience, and please chime in, Keith. But I cannot remember any instance where there have been a complaint about traffic in that area. You know, whether that be with carbon glass or one of the other industrial users of that in that area. Especially as it relates to agriculture. And certainly you're gonna have individual incidences. Those typically don't get forwarded onto the planning department necessarily after the fact.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else from anybody? So this gets continued now until May 13th, correct?
Yes. So maybe we will bring Jody in, and
Jody?
she can guide us on best approach from this point.
Sure. So this is probably more a question for Carrie. So the 777 is going to land on the day that the planning commission meets next. So technically we should then therefore wait. I think it's the extra 2 weeks for the next planning commission meeting to continue the hearing. But if you're willing to waive the last few hours, we can try to put it on the 13th. Is that right, Eric?
You should mention, yes, we want to get their comments in.
But that's their call.
That's a lot of reading. I get a job. Gary.
Go for it.
Sorry, Jody, I didn't mean to cut you off. I appreciate that our 777 ends on May 13th, and if the planning commission would prefer to have more time to read and absorb everything, we're fine with coming back on the 26th. Either way, whatever you all prefer.
I think that's fine. We just weren't sure if you wanted to move it quicker than that. So I think the 26th is probably the safest option.
Technically, it would be May 27th, Wednesday, May 27th.
Sorry,
Eric,
May
is that-
27th, okay with you?
And yes, that will work.
And that, is that another, so is that another public meeting? I'm just trying to understand the context of that
Yes.
meeting.
Well, we'll make it,
You make a decision.
we'll make a
but-
decision.
But there, okay.
There'd be no testimony
No.
on the
Correct. That was my
27th.
question, was it will be additional testimony both from
No.
both sides?
The testimony will be provided to us and we'll be able to
Okay.
absorb it,
Just make-
and
yeah.
we will be making a decision that night.
Just making sure I understood. Okay, thank you.
So we'll move to we'll make a decision on the 27th, is that correct?
Yes, and so, so just as Keith indicated, the first 7 days is open to any comments. And that will run until 5 p.m. on April 29th. The second 7 day period will begin and will run through 5 p.m. on May 6th. And that's an opportunity for folks to rebut. And then the third and final 7 day period will end on May 13th at 5 p.m. And that's reserved for the applicant for final rebuttal.
And we will make a decision on the 27th. Correct?
Yes, we will continue the hearing until 5:30 p.m. on the 27th at this location.
Okay.
No, we still have a meeting on the 13th.
We have no other business that I'm aware of for May 13th.
Okay.
That may change, but at this moment, we do not. All right.
Okay. So the meeting is adjourned until the 27th of May. Thank you all for coming.
Thanks for your time.